Morning, everybody. Just getting set up. Just bear with me a second. We've got a TikTok signing out on the chat, so I've just got to sign back in and sort a few bits first. It's never smooth at the minute. Of course, that's the wrong password. Right, chat should be in now, hopefully. YouTube is still putting the wrong titles up as well. It still says it's a Game Boy repair. It's just not working with the title for some reason. Let me just test if this multi-chat works. Yep, so that's still working. That's one good thing. Right, so we've got back in. This is the customers from yesterday, the Game Gear. So he's paid for the clean screen upgrade, the new ribbons, and the clean amp. So the first thing we want to do is just make sure this is still in the same state it was yesterday and that nothing's changed. And then we'll get this one fixed up. Morning, welcome to the stream. Check if my little Zoom thing works as well now. Put it down here. Yeah, there we go. So I have to keep lifting up and down. I think it's mostly parfocal as well, so I don't think I'm going to have to keep changing and lifting up to focus. Yep, so it stays in focus. That's cool. Right, so we have audio, game. We need morning. Welcome in. Not many people this morning yet. Maybe it's a bit of a strange time to jump on. A bit too early and a bit too late. We just gained this customer's Game Gear finished off. They've paid for the upgrades. So that's still booting. So we know it's still in the condition it was. So the first thing I'm going to do is swap the power and audio ribbons. They're the most unstable. Without that, we can't really get a clean boot. So we'll start by removing the old LCD ribbon. And we'll use some hot air for this. So I don't know whether probably a nice zoomed in side view is going to work best for this one. Right, maybe there. What's best? So you can see probably like that, I'd say, is where you can see best. Zoom out a little bit. So all we'll do is we'll make a kink in the screen like this. So you're making like an S kink in the screen. That's what you want to give it for pressure, so this top ribbon tries to pull back. Sometimes you just have to weight something down on here so it doesn't move when you're pushing. But luckily that's just about going to hold. I can kind of do that to give it the pressure it needs. For the hot air temps, it doesn't really matter for this. I'm going to run the normal 480 and 80. Alright, just push the bend in, warm up here, and then after a few seconds, this will start pinging off. And I'll probably go to the overhead for this, to be honest, which will probably get a bit better view. Zoom in with my new flicky zoomy thing. There we go. And now, when we heat up, you'll see this ribbon starts to ping. Nice, good to know. I'm going to start trying to set up streaming times as well to get a little bit of consistency in the times I come on, but at the minute I'm still just very much doing it when I get time. So see how this is naturally pinging up and pulling back because of that bend in the ribbon. It won't come off fully because there's also tape on the other side, but you just pull off the tape after. So this is a zero contact, you're not going to rip any pads. There we go, simple as that. And now with that all off like that, you can just flip over, see the tape here, and you just peel away while it's still warm. And that is how you remove the screen with no damage, and you can reinstall these. I've done a little TikTok video on reinstalling these. All the pins are perfectly good, no damage, and you should find on the board as well, you won't get any shorts or damage doing that, so it keeps the original screen nicely usable. But as we know, this screen's dead, so the customer will get this back because it's his, but it's basically a dead screen. And now we will do these connectors. So we'll swap these out for brand new power and audio ribbons. I've been trying to get a haircut for about 2 weeks, but they couldn't fit me in, so I was going to go streaming this morning, and then they managed to fit me in, so I disappeared and quickly do it. Right, so these connectors are, if we look at these, see the little holes? So these fill with solder. So once they push through, you can push them through without solder through the holes of the circuit board. But then when you solder the other side, these can't squish back in to pull back out. And it's the same on these originals. So in order to pull these ribbons out here, you've got to either desolder them completely or try to warm them all up at the same time and pull them out. I tend to find, I think the last time I did these, desoldering them with the solder wick worked good. So let's give that a go. See if we can actually do this. Like I say, I don't really work on the Game Gears that much like the standard repairs. I'm normally doing the prestige build, so I don't normally do this for a while now. So we'll put some fresh solder on. We'll get some fresh flux. And then we'll go for yeah, cutting your own hair. That's something I don't think I've ever tried, and I don't think I ever would. Unless I'm just going bald. That's probably the time I'd do it. So let's give that another pass. Bit more flux. Let's see where that's at. So that's mostly good. You can see there the pins. Move that out of the way. Do a cheeky little zoom in. Wrong way. Oh, that is zoomed in. Let's go digital zoom. So you can see those little hooks. That's what stops it collapsing when there's solder in. So I don't know whether I didn't normally desolder it enough to just pull it through. So yeah, it doesn't come through straight away. But you need to get most of that solder out to help. So what I'm probably going to do is just heat up, I'll pull this off, just get the old ribbon off, we don't need that. And I'll just probably heat up and pull these away with hot air. So I'll probably grab these like this, apply some force, and downward force like this as I warm up. And hopefully this will come out nice and easy now most of the solder's out. And I'm not pulling hard on this, I've just got a basic bit of force so I can feel when it starts to loosen up, basically. Clean RGB is sold out just because we're changing PCB factories at the minute, so having to make sure all the quality is the same and the components are right, and we've had to build samples of every board because obviously it's a new factory, so it's just a little bit slower to try and change factories and keep things in stock. So we tried our best, but some of the things are just going out of stock as we're moving between. They're in production now, so they'll be, well, they would have been a few weeks away, but China have got a holiday on the start of October, so it's going to be probably 3 or 4 weeks until it's back in stock, unfortunately. So I don't think, to be honest, I don't think the desolder wicking was worth doing at this stage. I think we just hot air the plastic off and then pull the pins through one at a time. So let me just show you what I'm doing here. All I'm doing is putting, well, on the other side now you can see the plastic's melted off, so we've got no plastic, and I'm just pulling these little pins out one at a time. I'm just literally warming up the pad, so I'm finding this a bit easier than trying to completely clear the hole with desolder wick. Once that's off now, we can clear the hole properly though. I am going, you're asking me about holiday or somebody else, by the way, so I haven't finished reading messages, but I am actually going on holiday. No, I'm just going Tenerife for a few days in about a week. So I've got a pin left in there. I've still got part of a pin left in there. Oh, I've left the full thing in underneath. Wondering why I can't clean the holes out. Game Boy vids. I was going to do one today, but I don't want to. Can't be bothered. There's a Game Boy Color. I don't find them that interesting to work on. So you almost had a Game Boy Color being worked on. Having a clean amp and clean screen and stuff, but I'm just not in the mood. I prefer to do this Neo Geo AES that we've got coming up. Let's get this cleaned a minute. What do you do with the lighter green Game Gears? You don't really get issues with hot air. If you're getting popcorning on the board, they're either unlucky and there's a lot of moisture, or you've got too much hot air too close. More than likely, the closeness, not necessarily the hot air. You can see these two little holes don't want to clear. So the way I normally clear holes, I don't normally use a soldering iron and desolder wick anymore. I use a desolder pump. So I use a little desolder pump like this, and I use my hot air to go over the hole and then desolder pump it out. So that's what we're going to do for these. So, are we fully zoomed in here? Yeah, let me just get a digital zoom on the go. There we go. The lighting on this is really bad as well. We're right in sort of a glare zone. Let me see if I can prop that up a minute. There we go. Probably going to burn me sponge doing this, but you can see these two holes here now that are still filled. So we'll just go over them with hot air. When you see them go molten, you can use the desolder pump. You don't actually need to even touch the board with this. The actual vacuum in the air, if the solder's molten enough, you could literally leave it in the air like this. So let's see if we can do like a mid-air desolder pump. So that's not even touching the board. Not on this one, unless that's just not molten yet. Yeah, so you have to go over on this, but I know on some of the holes you can literally desolder pump it without even touching the board, because it creates enough vacuum that you don't even need to touch the board. So that's one of them out. And now let's clean up the board. Get the ribbon. Let's make sure you put this in the right way. So it's pretty hard not to, because obviously you've got the... Oh, we didn't clear one of the holes either. I was going to say we've got this one hole here we forgot to clean. So with it being a space and then over this end. Just get him quickly. Get him away from the wheel. I need to scroll up as well. There's tons of chat at the minute that I've missed with some questions in. There we go. So bear with me on the chat a minute. I will get to that. Yeah, that's cleared enough. Alright, so that goes in only one way because the connector does. If this doesn't push through, don't push too hard, it just means we haven't cleared the holes enough. So if this isn't going to push through like that's a little bit tight, I think. So we probably haven't cleared them holes quite enough. Let's just take a look. So now they're mostly covered, what I'll probably do is just run over with the flux and the desolder wick just to be nice and clean. They're probably just not quite cleaned off. Otherwise you can push the connector wires back up into the connector if you don't if you apply too much force, basically. That can go off a minute now. There's doing me head in. There we go. Let's just desolder whip from this side as well. And normally these aren't too bad, but as I mentioned, I haven't really done these connector swaps for a while, so let's try again. There we go, so that one's gone through now. So you just want to make sure you don't, push too hard if it's not going through, because it's those little clips I showed you have to collapse in, push through the hole, and it's just like an anti. I don't know really why they do it. Just sort of keeps it in place while you're soldering, I guess. That's probably the reason for it. So, yeah, they seem okay. No issues there. Right, let me just scroll up for some of this chat because I've missed a few questions along the way. Received a PC Engine yesterday. No screen. Display was already recapped. Play sound but nothing on screen. Q901 started smoking, so I'm guessing that's why the screen isn't working. I think Q901 is that the 5-volt transistor? I don't know off the top of my head. It's unlikely to be ceramics now. I don't think they have an issue. Q901, you'd have to let me know if that's the 5-volt one above the shield, and then I could probably guide you. I wouldn't know without looking at the schematic otherwise. Right, I think I'm up to date on that chat. TikTok chat is, I don't think, popping up again on screen, but I've got it on a separate screen now, so I can toggle between it a bit quicker. So actually, I didn't miss that much chat. Right, so now we want to do the audio ribbon just the same. I should be able to do it a little bit quicker now I've figured out which method worked best there, and I think it's just, all I'll do is use pure hot air. So I'll hot air the connector off, and then while it's still hot, I'll desolder pump the holes. So I should be able to do this in one one swoop without stop starting and trying a bunch of methods. So let's see if we can do that. We've got the desolder pump ready, hot air ready. We want to warm this up from behind. I'm still going to put some fresh solder on because we want to make this melt at a lower temperature. So I'm still just going to flood this with a bit of solder first, just for that temperature difference in solder. So there you go, plenty of leaded solder on. And now hot air. I'll try to just pull up the PC Engine schematic in a minute in between doing this, and I'll take a quick look at the circuit. You could, if it's smoking, it's probably going to be the big transformers shorting out internally on the coils. Oh, there's this camera lost focus because my arm's in the way. One special camera. Let me zoom in and out. There we go. Yeah, it doesn't like my arm being in front of the camera there. Yeah, if you're getting smoking, it could well be, like I say, the transformer. If they're gone, unfortunately, then it's pretty much, well, you just have to do a modern screen. You haven't really sourced replacement transformers yet. No, I haven't done the focus on the overhead yet, but I've got the zoom and I've got a parfocal lens on, so if I set up the focus for roughly where the thing on the board is going to be, then it's not that big of an issue because I rarely have to change focus, but I'll probably do some focus demand stuff. I think I can't use the Blackmagic though because the studio camera above me can't control that lens. It's not, the firmware's too old, and that revision of Studio Cam doesn't work with it, so I'd have to pay another $1,000 for a different Studio Cam, like the more up-to-date one, and then I could get it working. That's just melted the wires and nothing else. So let's grab this. Let's try again. Have to just bear with me, I can't really get this on a decent camera angle for removing. Oh, there's the plastic out, so now it's just all the pins separately, so it's pretty much going exactly as the last one did, where we almost might as well use the iron at this point to get those off. This one's a really awkward one to get into position. Might just do it this way around. Just see if we can get these ones off here, so probably this way for me. Grab tweezers, solder. Let's just try and warm and lift each one out. I don't remember having this much difficulty the last time I did these, but it's been a long while since I've done these. It's really awkward to grab as well. Try and get them from this angle. We've got a bit of spam on the shaft again. We'd had that all at the start, and we haven't had any for a while. Oh, this one's a pain. There we go. Right, while it's still warmish, let's get back on with that heat and desolder pump this before we lose all of the heat. We'll have to straighten that LED back up as well. I've got a slightly bent LED doing that. Probably this way around, I reckon. Like that. We're working on a Game Gear. This is a customer's Game Gear from yesterday. It was... What was actually wrong with it? Well, these ribbons were swapping were bad, so we got intermittent boot. The screen's bad, so we weren't getting anything on screen. And I think that was really the only... Oh, and we did a recap, so there was nothing majorly wrong with it at first. But it's got quite a few bits that need doing, so we need these new ribbons going on. We need a clean screen for a new screen, and we need a soundboard, because the soundboard and power... Actually, yeah, there was a bit wrong, wasn't there? The power board was bad, the soundboard was bad, but we're just swapping them. The screen was bad, but we're swapping that. But ultimately, the console itself is working, so that's the positive side of it. Desolder all this grime. It looks like one of them vias is not good, so I'll have to wire him. Yeah, he's definitely not good. Let's cut him out. I think that's... Yeah, there's one there. So see this trace here hanging off the via? We'll get rid of that trace, and we'll restore him with a wire after. Ooh, board's hot. So that via's no good. And that'll be with, removing... Well, it could be with removing that connector. Can just be a bit of the age of the board as well. But it's definitely not a good via. A little bridge between these that doesn't want to remove as well. There we go. This side looks okay. Yeah, they're okay. So we'll clean that up, put the new ribbon through, and then if I don't repair that trace, just remind me. I should remember. Yeah, this is a Game Gear. Only screen for Nomad until I make the clean screen. Yeah, there's just the generic RGB. It's called LCD or RGB driver. They're both about the same. Saying that, I think there might be. You might want to check if there's a high-speedo Nomad. Sorry, PC Engine. I know there's a high-speedo Nomad. I don't know if they've done a PC Engine yet. But if not, yeah, you just want the ones on AliExpress. I can make a clean screen for it like everything else, just haven't had time yet. Let me just straighten that LED because it's annoying me. There we go. So LED straighten back up. Now we need to fix the trace that I'm pretty sure I tore off. So it will be... Just got a really bad angle for this. This board just wants to reflect all the light. So this trace here goes down to this cap here. So the top of C21, that probably is, wants to go to the second pin here. So I'm just going to wrap a wire through, that's a screw hole. Where shall we go? We can just wrap it round this here, but the clean screen's going over here. We can wrap it round there, but it's a bit long. Or we could pop a hole through the board to get to their clean, because we can't really get to the pad from here. Is that a screw hole? Either way, I think that post is covered by the D-pad, so... where shall we wrap it through? Might be safer just coming down here, through... Oh no, that's got a screw. I'll tell you what, when we take this fuse off, I'll clear this hole and we'll pop it through this fuse hole, even though the clean screen sits over there. Yeah, the clean screen doesn't cover it here, so I'll probably just wrap it around this top corner. Like, we'll go up and above and just around here. Then the screw can go here and the wire can sit between the clean screen. That's what we'll do. So let's just get rid of this. Zoom out a bit. We'll get rid of the backlight, so we can get rid of this now, and the fuses for the backlight as well, because it's having the clean screen. So this you can either just snip out or flip over, and you have the little solder pads on the back. So you can just get, I think it's this pad, and just push down. Well, it's fell out, we don't even need push down. Then the other side, we've got this pad here. Push down when you're warming up the solder. And then that comes out. So we'll give that the customer, just because it works. We don't tend to chuck the things, off the customer's boards in general. If you're ever keen to keep the parts off your board, even though we normally keep them by default and give them back, you can always just leave a note on the orders to say, please return any parts removed. But we do try to remember to just do that as standard, because some people just like to keep the parts that come off their consoles if they've got any sort of nostalgic value or just generally interested in preserving the parts. These are the two fuses for that backlight, because it's like 400 volts when it's running, and it can go to thousands of volts if it's not loaded down. So we get rid of them. And now with that out, we can remove this before I forget, L2. So this is the filter. This is an inductor that filters the 5-volt rail that then goes to this transformer to generate the high voltage. So by removing this, we disconnect that high voltage from the circuit. So we're safe to touch around the board once we remove this. We're modding a Game Gear at the minute. This is a customer that has paid for a repair in diagnostics, and we found that the screen's bad, power board's bad, soundboard's bad. So we're just replacing all them now, as well as the power and audio ribbons. Yeah, you can ask questions, George. It's I'll answer them or get to them as I can in between doing the work. I think now TikTok messages are actually coming through on stream, or are they not? I can see them now. Are they popping up on the stream though? I don't think they are. RetroPie sticker for the NES. I might have. I can't remember. We did that many things. I might have done that. I might not have. Right, we need to repair the audio trace. So yeah, so that's what we were doing. Zoom in. So we need to tack a wire onto this cap here. You got the wire back to the speeder a minute. There we go, that's tacked on. And now we want that to go over here, up and around this part of the board, behind here, and then back to the pin we tore, which was M42 here, so this pin here. So we'll attach it to the test point M42, which is the pin that we need. Site to teach you about electronics, not really, I'm all self-taught, so other than watching this or joining the Discord, I couldn't really advise where to learn from. So that should be the pin restored on there. It was the second pin up, effectively the pin, then the gap, then that pin. And it was torn just there, you can see just at the edge. And that trace, if we've done it right, goes down into this cap, which it does. So that's that restored. And now we have the ribbons done. That was probably the most messy part out of all of it. We should now get decent audio. So let's just test that again, make sure the audio doesn't crackle now when we wiggle the connectors. Size wire, I've just got a probably 28 American wire gauge. That's probably like about the standard, about 0.2 mil thick. PSPs we don't work on now, unfortunately. Game in. Oh yeah, so we've got audio now, and we move the wire around now. No more glitching, no more powering off. So they are the cause of that intermittent glitching, so that's that fixed. Yeah, thanks for joining in. I might be on later, but if not, I'll probably see you when I next do one. Might be tomorrow. So this is for the customer, the clean amp. We'll just give him this in a bag because it's just plug in, so he can have that ready. And now he needs a clean screen going on. So that's the last step, and this one's done. Keep that out of the way. Controllers we don't work on anymore, unfortunately. We used to, but we stopped working on them. It's just, don't know, too much time for what they're worth. They're not worth enough, basically, to work on them. It end up costing too much in our labour. Yeah, I think I'll fit this first. Leave the screen on. Oh no, can't leave the screen on. Let's fit the screen on first. We'll leave the protective cover on so it keeps the screen clean. It goes upside down, so the screen ribbon goes over the top. And then that one that side. That on that side. And then these will line up with the existing holes where that backlight circuit came out. So if we go to overhead so you can see, these brackets line up with them holes where, obviously you just move it around until it lines up, where the old one come out. And then these do the same this side. And you can just use the original screws as well that come out of the kit to hold that in place. But before you do that, you put the actual clean screen board over the top as well, and then it sandwiches everything between. So if we get them in, I just like to get one of each corner in first, so you can let go and position it easier. That's roughly in now. So now we've got a bit more freedom to make sure that wire we put there doesn't get trapped. And make sure the screen stays in. And then we'll put the last screws in. There's something that's actually stopping this one. Going down here, we haven't trimmed one of the pins, so I'll just move this out the way now. We haven't flattened where we took them fuses off. This is sticking up, so we need to trim this down, otherwise it's in the way. That's it. And we've got to put this back in position. Better. BIOS chips, yes, we sell some of them. If there's any specifically you're interested in, you'd have to let us know. But yeah, we do BIOS chips. HDMI ports on Xbox, yeah, they're on the website. If you go to retro6.co.uk and then send in services, go to the Xbox you want, and then we have the HDMI options. So that's in place. Connected up, and now we've got to fit the ribbons on either side. So instead of hand wiring everything, we can connect these wire-free ribbons, so they connect into the clean screen and solder down to the Game Gear board. So you do one each side to tack all the points in, and then we just plug them into the clean screen. So we'll start with this side, and if we have a big load of solder poking up here, we'll clean off first. Got all of these. See the big sticking up solder where I've taken off the connectors here. We'll just clear them out a minute. That's it. And then we'll rest this over, and basically the 5V picks up on the left pad of that inductor L2 we took off, so I normally start there. Get a tack point down. Now ground picks up on this cap and start the other side. The backlight picks up on these two pins. The capacitor down here is for the 2 button, and this is for the SMS. So all we've got to do is solder them in. For solder, I just recommend leaded solder. So I think it's 40% lead, 60% tin. I use at the minute Solder King that we used to sell, but we don't sell it anymore. But any good leaded solder will do fine. I've got the 2 button here, and the SMS on the resistor. That's them all done. And then this side now can connect up to the clean screen. Probably the hardest part was getting that thing plugged in. There we go. And now we do the other side. So same idea. In terms of positioning this one, probably, I don't know whether plug the ribbon in or do these data. I'd probably start on the data because it's quite a long ribbon. What we have down here is obviously either side of this resistor, either side of this resistor, either side of this resistor, so that's going up to there, and this one's going to this resistor here. So just in order to fit around them resistors, that's why it's a bit of a strange shape, basically. So as long as you use flux, you should be fine. Let's try to get a tack in on one of these. That's it. Probably get a better angle for this one. There we go, and you see if you've got enough flux, they'll just flow into the right position. There we go, I think that's all on. So we have that resistor, and all it does is shorts this out. So if this resistor comes off, it doesn't matter, because these two just bridge the points together. Same for every resistor basically here. So they're on, that's on there, that's on there, and you just want to be careful basically that these two don't touch, that this pad doesn't touch this cap, that this pad doesn't touch this. That's like a common problem. V-sync and H-sync. V-sync's here, H-sync is here. You might want a bit of wire for the H-sync. I think on the next ribbon I'll move it a bit closer. There's the H-sync. Let's say the V-sync. And now for the H-sync, trying to do this without a microscope. It's going to be fun. Yeah, I'm not going to get that without a microscope. I'm going to have to move it in so I can do this with my eye. And we're definitely going to use a little bit of a wire there to make that bridge, because it's too far away. You're not going to get solder. Well, I could probably get solder to stick, but let me just try. No, you want a tiny bit of wire, so I'll just use a little bit of wire, and this will make this job a lot easier. I'm just going to strip some of the Kynor wire down. I'll see if I can do this on camera without the scope so you can see what I'm doing. But pretty difficult just to do it with a camera, basically. So let's see. So a bit of flux on the pad. Strip down wire here, so the copper's exposed. And then we want to bridge over the two like this. Tack down on the pin. And then now that's on the ribbon, you want to push down and get it tacked onto the pin. Like so. So that's now attached to the pin. And I'll just clean. Well, I think that is clean enough, but it's a lot easier to do when you're actually using a scope and you can see what you're doing there. If you don't want to do that bit, you can just solder to the LCD ribbon. There we go, so that's soldered on there with a little wire. I'd obviously do that in each if I was looking through the scope, but if you didn't want to do that, there's pads on the circuit board here for all the points, so you could solder H-sync here and V-sync here, and you could solder wires to there, flip over, and then pin 1 on this LCD starts at this little white arrow, so pin 1's here, like this pin here, and then you count down, and it's pin, I believe it's pin, do you know what pins it is actually? 20 and 9? 9 and 20 is it? Yeah, so it's like, if you look on the schematic, I think pin 9 is H-sync, so 9 pins down, and then pin 20 is V-sync. And you could solder to those two pins there. We'll connect him up now so he's in position, and then we'll solder the other points in. So we have peak lock, which goes to basically the center of them two resistors. That's where that wire's trying to make it. And there's a pad like that because different boards have slightly different layouts, so it fits all the revisions. So plenty of solder. Lob that one down. That one is there. Left is here. And the last one is T10. So again, multiple revisions of the board here. If you've got a circle here, see how you can see the pad in the middle? If you move that out of the way, that T10. If you've got that pad, you just solder that. If you haven't, then there's a little rectangle pad up here on different revisions where that solders to. So it's one or the other, basically. If you see something inside the hole, you solder that one. If you don't see something there, you should see a pad here. And I think we're done. I think that's all connected in, so I think we've done what we needed to. And moment of truth, Sonic. Soundboard. Power board. USB. And we should have everything fully working now if we've done everything to plan. Ooh. So he has got a bad, well, no, the customer hasn't got a bad VDP. We nicked his VDP yesterday. So the one we nicked is bad. So we need to put a new VDP on. Unless we've just got a bad trace or bad VRAM, but that's the classic bad VDP yet again. So the one we nicked yesterday, in case it was the VDP we suspected, that is ours, and we did nick the customers for the other build and it worked. So we just need to swap this now. And of course, this is right by the ribbon, so we probably have to redo that ribbon. Let me just double check I don't have any shorts on here though, because that could cause it, and the VRAM on the back could be bad because it's an original. So there's chances it could be bad, but it just looks like the classical bad VDP. No, so that's on fine. So, of course, we swapped the VDP and it turned out to be a bad one. Yeah, so we can actually, here's a dead one, we can now do what we said we were going to do. There's another board with another one missing. Another one missing. We haven't got many left. Yeah, that board's no good. Look at that blue. Yeah, I wondered what you were mentioning with VJ. I thought I'd missed a discussion. I wondered what you were on about. Hey, thanks, Matt. That's appreciated. Which mod am I most proud of? The new Game Gear clean screen is pretty cool, which you'll find out why once it's released. I can't, well, I say there's no point in me not talking about it in one way because people have already figured some way out of doing similar to what I've done recently on other projects, but I'd actually made the V4 before anybody else, so I was one of the first to do what I've done with it, but I'll explain that when it's out. Other than that, probably this one I haven't tested, the new factory I'm making again, the Atari 2600 clean comps. So that's reconstructing composite video signals from the TIA. So a lot of analog circuit work, which again, with being self-taught, it took a lot of figuring out to do that. It was basically trying to find as much information on composite video as I could, which turned out to be completely wrong. All the information online is wrong. That's why I made the wiki with the voltage levels in the video standards page, because everyone that mentions composite online and how it works is wrong. So it took a while to figure that out. And then I made, obviously, the clean comp to reconstruct the video signal from scratch with the right voltage levels, the right impedance, and to get the cleanest composite video you could possibly get. So I learned a ton doing that, and ultimately then it's a super clean and easy install and doesn't cost that much either. So it's personally, that one was one of my favourites. If this VDP works, I'll be amazed. This board looks gross. This is almost definitely going to ping off our ribbon now. Yeah, I've been doing the retro stuff about 4 or 5 years now. I've made hardware before that, but nothing massive. It's probably the main time I've been making hardware. And first time I've really done repairs, like, you know, this level of repairs. Zoomed in a bit so I can see. Yeah. It's already, one of the legs is already soldered down, so we're going to have to go with this and nudge it in position. There we go. And one thing, the original green boards are a bit harder to see than the white re-PCB. I think that's pretty hard to see. Switch to, we could do, as many people doing repairs on them or seeing problems with them yet. That's the kind of drive. I haven't even listed them for repairs, and I've never even looked in one, and I don't own one yet, so it's all going to depend on when I get the time really to look at them. But they're probably very similar to the Switch ones, to be honest. Probably just very similar design, just newer CPUs and things. I don't think it's going to be a drastically different design. Let's just take a look at this. Yep, it's all good. Slightly offset on the bottom pins, but they're all on and nothing else is offset, so that's just a the difference in the two PCBs. This one. Let me just show you that BDP so you can see. So we're all good and soldered there. He says that looks like a little bit of stuff on that pin. I think it's just, I did look under the scope and it doesn't look like anything. Yeah, that's just a bit of dirt. Let me just flick that out. There we go. So it's all good. These pins, see how they're all slightly offset. They're all slightly to the left, but they're all connected, and none of the other pins are offset, so there's no point reflowing and twisting that. So that's good and on. So hopefully this now works. There we go. So yet another bad BDP. Yeah, I've been on Homes Under the Hammer about 3 or 4 times, as well as the software and the hardware and the retro and all the other stuff we do. Houses up as well. I buy houses, gut them, flip them. So we do that with a few people. But they rerun them Homes Under the Hammer stuff. Probably every 2 months I'll get messages saying I've seen you on there. So it's not new stuff. They haven't recorded for I don't know how long, maybe a year. So I'll say that's not that old, but yeah, they rerun the same episodes quite a lot. So you'll probably see me on there in another few weeks. I'll probably be due on there. Let me just clean this off, wrap this up, and then we'll see. Don't know whether to do the Neo Geo now or just take a quick break and come back on stream for doing the Neo Geo. What do we recommend? Just jump on a Neo Geo, we'll wrap this one up. We've already done an hour, or I can just carry on straight through and get straight on a Neo Geo. Just let me know what you think, whether we stop and do a fresh stream in like probably another half hour to hour, or are you going to keep me here like a slave and we'll plough through and do it one after the other. I'll let you guys watch Sonic come in while I'm working away. Martin, known have I asked? Silly question. There we go. That's Sonic for you. I'll probably try and get this one actually go today for the customer. So, everything in there. Don't need that bag now. Stay. There we go. I'll just have to get Zach test this works with buttons though in a shell. Make sure it like does fully work in terms of pressing the buttons and things. So that's that wrapped up anyway. So the customer gets this. That's our test board. That's our Game Gear board. So they get this with their screen still covered, so it obviously stays clean under there. We've done the ribbons. They get the power core. They get the clean arm that's in the bag. This is our test one. And it's got the clean screen on. So yeah, that's good to go. So I'll move that over to be tested. And put that away. And then I guess we're going on to a Neo Geo. So I'm going to grab a coffee. There's no way you're slave driving me that hard. I'm not getting coffees. So you can sit staring at the Sonic cartridge for 5 minutes while I go make a coffee. Right, there you go. That's what you're looking at for the next 5 minutes while I get a drink. In fact, let's do this. There you go. Look at that. Admire that artwork while I'm gone. All right, back in 5, and then we'll jump on this Neo Geo. We're back. I should keep that note. That's a useful note. Right, I just got to cut a window in this shell a minute, and then we'll get onto the Neo Geo. It has to go quite close to that LED, don't it?
Yeah.
It's like, or would you have to cut a bit of that LED off as well?
Not really.
That's the most awkward bit. I find the a sharp knife much easier than Dremel. It's just cutting the window for the IPS screens in original shells. But obviously, all of the cut's covered by the lens, so you don't need to be super visually pleasant when you're doing it. You just need to make the window wide enough. Have you got that glass as well, so I can like check it in the window? I'm surprised I haven't cut myself on camera yet, to be honest. There's time. So we just need to cut the top, basically. So we've got, you can see that black will be fine. That black's fine. We could probably trim a little bit on this side, and then the top we need to do. So a little bit on this side first. No, we did braised beef and braised wagyu this week. No smokes. And did chicken dishes. I'm going to do probably top side maybe next. I don't know whether smoke that or not, or just slow cook it. Let's see if that's big enough. A little tiny bit. we go. Should be good enough. If anyone's got any ideas for recipes in a pallet smoker, definitely let me know, because I mainly just do the beefs, the wagyus, briskets, and ribs. They're the main two things I do in it at the minute. So that's good. Keep that up there. Game Boy original motherboards, you should be able to get them. Depends where you are and what currency that's in, but you should be able to get them for £40 to £60, or maybe like $50 to $70. You can try, if you want more bulk, you can go on like the Japanese auctions like Jaws and Sendico and stuff. Mainly use them if you're after 20 plus consoles. If not, just eBay. Right, there's that screen shell. The barbecue scene in the UK, not really that much. We've got dedicated places, really. Hickory's is a big one, and they just do brisket and pulled pork. Like it's mainly you go in a smokehouse, but there's not that many. Well, I say in the UK, this is just really in Stoke and around the area. I'm sure London will have probably more, but no, there's not that much of a scene at all. It's probably why it was so hard to get briskets that actually work. I had to go online and get, like, you know, the Wagyu briskets, otherwise the local butcher's ones were just not good enough. Best game on Neo Geo for me is Metal Slug. A lot of people like the King of Fighters, but I literally can't even win a fight on that. We cannot win a single game on that game. Right, let's get this Neo Geo up. So we have, probably gonna have to zoom that out maximum to fit this in. There we go. So we've got the Neo Geo, and I've got, this is the customers. Doesn't work. Don't know what's wrong yet. All I've done is taken the screws out to check what power supply we have. So we can see this coil means we're safe to use a 9-volt power supply on it. Otherwise, you could end up using a 5-volt, a 9-volt system. I'll get around them. A 9-volt power supply on a 5-volt system and kill the whole system. So always physically open these up before you power them up. And then I've grabbed Samurai Spirits and a multi-cart to test on. And I've remembered to bring, yeah, I've got a SCART cable here. So these have RGB by default. They're just not the best quality. Well, they're good, but they're not perfect on the output by default. They need cleaning up. So if we get this on here, I suppose I can actually, instead of putting it through the CRT, let's actually put it on screen, see what we get. Turn that on. Put it over to there, pull up HDMI, and power. So this has, I think I noticed, I might as well leave the lid off. It's got a UniBIOS on here, so this should boot to a white screen. Yep, there we go. So it's working in some way. Let's put a game in. Samurai Spirits. There we go. Universal BIOS version 3. So I think version 4 is out now. This is a repair, but don't know if I've got repair it. It looks like it's working. No, that shouldn't have come up. That's when you're pressing the controller buttons. And there's corruption on the screen. See that FF? Where's my finger? So FF on there. And then on the, obviously you can see it on the vertical. It's there. That's not normal. Let's just try and reset. Get the IPA at the ready. So it's working in some way because it's booting, so that means hopefully most of the video circuit's right. That FFA and corruption at the bottom's a little bit concerning though. But I think we're dealing with a RAM issue here, probably work RAM, I'm guessing, because there's corruption on the data. Like it's loading, the video isn't failing, but it's not loading game, but it's also going into a hardware menu, which the controller ports, yeah, it's going into that every time. Let's see. This will ignore the way the flashcards work. This should ignore that hardware test button press. So let's see if we get into the menu of this. Yeah, Metal Gear Slug, that's what I played. Controller. It could be a faulty BIOS chip. I'm aiming more at, I'm suspecting RAM at this stage. Let's just see. So buttons work. Let's go into the game. And that's the exception window, but with nothing in it. So yeah, there's something funky going on because that's a crash that should then say like illegal instruction or something failed, and we're not even getting that. So the system's trying to work, but getting confused at many stages. Let's try it once more. There you go. So illegal instruction. So there's, I'm going to bet work RAM or trace damage. Yeah, it's not been recapped, so we could have trace damage. Diagnostics ROM we could try. So on this chip here, you can swap, this is the BIOS. We can swap this out. Where's my pry tool then? We can swap this out with a diagnostics BIOS to see if we get any more info. We can do some hardware tests. And it sometimes gives us a hint at where to look. Let me just grab a BIOS 1 second. Right, so we've got diagnostics BIOS here. That's the right way. Now, one thing I learned when I was working on these, it took me ages to figure out, especially when considering you're going to be using a diagnostics BIOS when there's something wrong. If you turn this on with no gaming, let's get the output on screen, you don't get any diagnostics, you just get a white screen. So you'd think, there's something wrong with the system, or you get issues like this. The diagnostics BIOS needs a gaming to run. So it's part of how it operates. It needs to see a game in the port, otherwise you won't get to the menu. Oh, and there you go, work RAM, WRAM. Yep, so that is definitely expected FFC. So work RAM is completely not working. That may be good, because that'll probably mean, with it always being 0, either the RAM's dead completely, or maybe the trace to like a chip select line is missing, not necessarily an address or data line, because then you get random data, not corrupt data. So let's take a look at the board. So the board in general doesn't look too bad. Like, I can't see any trace damage. The work RAM is here. Oh yeah, straight away. Look at that. So, have I not put the face cam back on? There we go. That looks like trace damage to me. Zoom in. This keeps falling off this scope as well. There we go. So as far as we can get in on that. And zoom in further. So yeah, there's definitely a problem. So we've got trace rot right here. Just see if I can focus that a little bit more. There we go, so that's nice and clean and focused. So there's some electrolyte here on these 2 pins, but this black here. That's defo going to be, and that might be a bad trace. So just remember this area before we clean it up, because once you clean it up, you might forget where the rot was and you can't see. Let's take the power button off. Right, so you can see the black nice and clean now. So what do we do with that? We can just repair that trace. It's going to be awkward to do that on camera, unfortunately. So what I'll probably do is see if I can get this camera nice and zoomed in for you so you can maybe see what I'm doing under the scope. Let's get into position here. Where I want to be. So there. So now if I try and angle this, can we get anywhere like where we want to be? Where have we gone? We're there. Don't know where that's going either. That's completely black and going through the chip. And there's black there. So where I want to be is, yeah, I don't think you're going to see. We can zoom in and you can kind of see like that, but that's not very clear. So maybe that's probably the best angle, but I'm going to have to do this under the scope in order to do it right. But what I'm going to do first is to scrape away. So I'll just show you the scrape away bit I can do first from the top camera. These, we zoomed in again. Yeah. These black traces here don't look that black now because we've changed the angle. Those two there, I just want to scrape away. So I should be able to do that without the scope. I'm just going to scrape a bit more out the way because I'm going to bridge over that connector basically. And then this one, I think, is vanishing under this chip here. And I'll probably just whip that chip. Well, I could either whip the chip off to see where it's going, or we actually have schematics for this one, like a keycad schematic, so we can take a look at this. Let me just chuck that up on screen. So when this loads, go over to this screen. And then if I show you the screen, there we go. This is the redrawn board that we're looking at. So we can zoom right into this chip. And we can see this trace here is one rotted, goes through, down, and goes to the second pin. Oh, where am I going here? So it goes to this pin here. I believe if we press H, there we go, and then tab. So that is the trace there, which goes through to this point here. So we want to check it gets continuity to the second pin. The other trace here, just for good measure, it'll let me select it. It's not letting me select it. Now it does not want to let me select that trace for some reason. But either way, it's that trace there. I'll have to trace it by eye for now. Goes through, down, and to the pin next to it. So it's literally the first pin and the second pin on that chip is what we're looking at. So basically, this trace that's gold here goes around. Oh yeah, you can see by eye. Goes to this one. This one comes through, down to there. So I'm guessing one of them broke. I can't see that being the only issue though, because that's address line 13 and 15. So that would be high up in the... actually, let me check something. If I remember, I think the error was address 1001. So we go to a programmer calculator. I might be wrong on this, but let's just pull up that a minute. In binary, there we had 1001. No, see, so the address isn't high enough to trigger like address 13 or 14. So that would be address 0. Let's get rid of that. Address 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we would have had to have like an error of, you can't really see it on screen, it's way too small, but 3FFF or 1, and then at least 4 more digits. So did we have a 5-digit error on the diagnostics BIOS? Let's see, because we've still got it here. Go to the HDMI and plug the power in so we can see something. We did. There you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros and a 1. So it is going to be that. Because the address, it fails as soon as it gets to that address line 13. Because 13 bits is 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So pretty sure that's going to be the only issue. You'd hope. So now let's just fix them and see if I can do what I said, which is to get you a view where you can see this, which I think, like I say, the best view, to be honest, is just going to be, I don't think you're going to see this, sorry, you're not going to see, it's too, too zoomy. All I'm going to do is basically fix them traces. I'm just going to tack some wire on and join it to the pins. Oh, actually, before we do that as well, we were going to check continuity to make sure they're broken. So bottom pin here to there. So that one's fine. Bottom pin here to 13 is missing. So it's only where are we? It's only the one on the inside here going through. So this trace actually hasn't rotted through, and I've just retinned it, so that'll re-strengthen that joint now that was rotting. But this one going through to there needs repairing, so I'll attach a wire to here and then tack it to this trace here. And this is the exact damage that comes from typically electrolyte leaking from capacitors. So maybe this one has leaked all the way over, but you'd normally see some more damage coming across and you can't. So I think unfortunately this one has probably just been more likely a bit of fluid ingress from somewhere that's just happened to maybe come through the cartridge port here, rolled in, with some fluid, ended up here and rotted a trace. Or maybe this capacitor, I don't think it's got fluid in, I think this is a solid one, so there's nothing in the area there specifically. I think it's more either something's coming through the power button or something's coming through the cartridge port and ended up just sitting here and rotting over time, because that's definitely rot from something leaking. So let's just get to chucking this wire on and then see if it works. And then the customer wanted more work doing if this works. So they may want, I'm going to advise a recap for a start, because we have potentially more leaking. Well, the caps are definitely starting to leak, so we do want to look at that. Black spot on there. We're talking that via just above there. And just above there. Yeah, they haven't quite eaten through yet. Obviously, this will get a full test anyway, and if there is issues in this area, we can see. But yeah, something happened. You can see even, about that dot there, maybe in between them as well. That will have probably rotted the top layer. In fact, that probably has rotted through. No, it hasn't. Not quite. Yeah, so that looks fine. But yeah, something's obviously happened, landed here and rotted all this area. But as long as we remember that, if we get more issues, we know where to look for trace damage. Now, let's hopefully get this working. So we'll use the red Kynar wire. I'll start with going onto the leg of the workroom. Set. And then we have that now on the leg there. We'll wrap this around, and what we want to do is get it to land roughly over that trace. Where's my scalp gone? There. So we want it roughly this length. Just cut through that. Expose the end. And it's not as hard as it looks. I'll try and do this on camera for you, because otherwise it's kind of defeating the point. The only reason is I need to kind of get my head over, and when I put my head over, it blocks the camera in order to see where I'm soldering. So we might not make this look that easy, because I can't use a scope to show you, but I'll still try and show you the principle. And all you're relying on is the fact that this will naturally stick to that trace if you get it close enough and there's enough tin on the trace. So it looks like it'd be something difficult, but it should just naturally stick. We've pre-tinned this wire, we've got flux on, so you should just do that. There you go, that's now solid on the trace. So what looks like a really hard job is literally one of the easiest jobs. And then we want to secure this, because obviously you're on just a trace here at the minute, so it's delicate. And it's not touching the other trace, so we should be good to test if that works now. We might have other issues, but it'd be nice if that was the only issue, and then we can recommend to the customer definitely the recap. You could want the improvements on the RGB, so we'll see if you can see any of the issues on the RGB in a minute. And then if so, I'll recommend optional for him to upgrade to the clean RGB output. And then he's also got a power button with a light on, but I have, funnily enough, right at my feet. This is where they are, because I have to program them. We've got the Neo Geo Clean Light RGB, so this sits over the power button, and you can then change the colours. So this literally sits over the power button like that. Go to there, and you've got a full RGB controllable little Raspberry Pi board I've made. So he sits on there typically. You connect these two up, and then you hold the reset to cycle the colours, or you tap the reset to show a reset. So I might recommend that just as a visual, considering the customer's already got an illuminated power button. It's just not as nice. There's just a few LEDs. It doesn't spread as nice, and you can't change the colours. So that's an option for him as well. I wouldn't go recommending all the other stuff we've got, like sockets and heat sinks and that. Purely preference for longevity on the heat side and repairability, but that's like not a necessity as such. So that's in. Samurai Spirits. Diagnostics ROM. That board, not based on a Pico, no, it's just a Raspberry Pi board, the smallest possible. So I made it so that it's more universal. It's just the Pico, the crystal, the RAM, the regulator, a couple of level shifters so you can interop with 5-volt systems on a really tiny board, so like a universal board. Keep the diagnostics ROM in, so this should just hopefully pass the tests, and we won't see that error, hopefully. Yay, all tests passed. So that's a good start. Now let's put in the original UniBIOS, and we should see this working now. Got that a bit zoomed in onto as well. Zoom back out on that a bit. Properties, they're going good. We've got one waiting to sell. We've got another one we're buying. Slowed down a bit for a few months, but it's all picking back up now. Nothing to really talk about in terms of problems or difficulties. It's pretty easy going. Power back in. Might as well get the controller because I'm pretty confident this is going to work now. Away. Power button in. Here we go. So we got to this bit before, but then it just went to the hardware menu. Good start. There we go, working. Let's go full screen. And you can see the brightness of this. So if you see how the characters are like over bright or not quite right, that's because this hasn't been modified. Or if it has, no, it hasn't been modified. So that really wants the clean RGB mod to make it perfect output. Let's just test the flash card works. And then we'll do some Metal Slug, I think. Just because I know all the buttons on that. So we'll do Metal Slug X. Okay, there we go. And I don't have a HDMI with faceover, just a full screen. So let's just go to full screen. And you've got a delayed audio, so ignore the fact the audio's out of sync on screen. Yeah, doesn't look too bad. Yeah, so that's definitely a bit too bright there. Oh, the delay. Is this a delay? Oh yeah, that's a major delay. Let me see. Let me just turn down that audio a little bit. There we go. There's a massive delay between the stream I'm looking at and playing, so this is going to be not going to be very good at this. Oh, that's crazy. That is such a delay. Yeah, I can't play with that delay. That's mad. But we can see, obviously, it's all fixed. This HDMI is definitely overblown though, so if you look at those colours, you can kind of tell on screen. Wow, the delay is crazy. Yeah, there's over bright colours, but sound's working, game's working. So I'll just recommend some upgrades for the customer. Starting to get used to the delay now. I got the bomb. But yeah, that's all good. You can see the customer's got a little orange power light as well. So if we put the clean RGB on there, the clean light RGB, you could like hold the button to change the colours and not reset the console. But yeah, that wasn't too bad. Usually these fixes take a long while, so that one wasn't too bad at all. So I'll do the same again. I'll let the customer know. See if he wants any upgrades, and if you're interested in seeing the upgrades, I can always stream them. Otherwise, I'm going to take a break for now. Might be back on later, but I'm just going to crack through with some other work. Yeah, we'll definitely do the clean RGB here if the customer wants it. I'd definitely recommend it because that's quite out of spec. That's quite a blown out colour. That's I'll show you what usually they're the other way, but in fact that is that way. It's actually under spec'd slightly. So what's happening is the OSSC is boosting the colours up, so it looks almost like it's too bright, but it's actually not bright enough. I'm just going to pull up the images for you on the wiki. Yeah, so here's the befores and afters. Oh, where's it gone? Back to there. Show the PC. So this is the way the customers will be right now. This kind of, it almost looks like it's too bright and the colours bleed in, but that's actually because it's too low. And that's what it goes to. So that's the customers right now, and that's what it'll go to. But this stream actually makes that look a bit bright, but that's, you get the idea. Like, it levels it perfectly to where it should be. It's just the whites on here look a bit crazy white. But on screen they look, you know, perfect. That is literally perfect voltage levels when you see the difference between the two. Mainly notice there in the background how washed out that background is versus that one. So that'll be that fix we can do. We haven't really seen the jail bars on this one, so there's a bunch of fixes we can do beyond that, including, we go down to Neo Geo, there's tons, so you can do the jail bar fix. We haven't really seen that, so you haven't noticed that on screen. There's a checkerboard one, which it might have already had done, where you get this checkerboard mainly in the blues, and you'll see that on the SNK, and we haven't seen that. So that's not bad either. But either way, I'll fully review this and recommend whatever I think is necessary for the customer to pick to get the best out of this console, because other than that, it's not in bad shape, and it's been caught just in time for a recap before that kind of damage starts happening to more places. Yeah, I've started making time to play, so I do play. I've got one of these set up in the games room now, fully ready to go, just turn on. But I didn't get much time before, but I do now. Got no excuses anymore. So that's it for this one, guys. I'll jump back on either later or tomorrow.